Hey guys, welcome to Life and Style with Francyne. This is your girl Francyne coming back with another episode of Life and Style with Francyne. And I'm super excited about this episode, especially because my special guest is not only a newly published author, transformational coach, health healthcare consultant, a former comedic actress. Well, she's still funny to me. Adaptability expert. What else? Man, so many things. But she is here to talk about her book, 50 Things My Momma Said. And I'm so proud that I had a part in that. I was the editor. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming my girl, Dionne. Hey, baby.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction. Hey, how are you? How are things in Michigan?
Michigan we're still sheltered in place through my birthday. However, I'm celebrating my birthday not in the club.
Right.
Where it's like there's enforced social distancing and then people it's like, wait a minute, I'm wearing this umbrella, like, don't come close to me, especially because I'm a hugger, I'm a dancer, and I'm like, hey,
yeah,
so I don't know what's going to have to happen after June 12th, but we're still sheltered in place. A lot of things are still closed at this time. Yeah. So still essential runs for me. But what about California? What's going on there?
California is opening up in phases.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that you can do curbside, like library, toy stores, food. Yeah. And that was one of the things that you forgot to mention in the introduction, that I'm a foodie. So I still try to support a lot of the local restaurants. And right. I know it's hard and it's a struggle for everybody. Nobody that I know has been through a pandemic. So we're all figuring this out.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's been an interesting journey. It just depends on, how you look at it.
Yeah.
But California is not officially opening up till probably July.
Because Governor Fine said.
Governor Newsom.
Girl.
Like, not today.
Not today. Especially when he figured out it was a nail salon. It's like, oh, no. Yeah.
And one of the very first confirmed cases was January 6th.
Wow.
In Northern California. So There you go. It's been around.
Now, for me, March was kind of tough because I was a little ill, a mild case, praise God. I did not, have to go to the hospital or anything like that. But I think March was just that moment where it's like, whoa, even now I still wake up and I think we're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Dang, we're in a pandemic. And, but April, and that was when March, I saw a lot of death around me, not personally, but just 6 degrees of separation. And that was tough. And it kicked off my anxiety, like, okay, I got to pull back. And that probably exacerbated me being stressed and whatever. But my last time out was like March 9th. Thank God, but April, okay, I'm getting into my groove. May, it's like, you know what? We have to adapt, which you're going to talk about, right? Adapt to this new normal that is not, we have no idea what it looks like, but we're kind of developing it as well, based on what's opened, based on personal judgment, based on what your situation is and how that works. Do you have somebody in the house that's immunocompromised? Do you have someone, an elderly person or whatever? those kind of decisions kind of drive how you're going to structure your life, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think, you know, for everybody, it was just like, it was one of those situations where you just really got caught off guard.
Yeah.
I would say for people all over the world, particularly people in Southern California and all of California, because it was right on the heels of the very tragic death of Kobe Bryant and
Yeah.
all of the other people that died in that helicopter crash. And it's like, we were still dealing with that trauma and go right into a pandemic. And it was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And a lot of people and still are suffering from anxiety. And it's understandable because anxiety comes when you're worrying a lot about the future.
Yeah.
And especially you can't really see the unforeseeable future.
Yeah.
Based on, you don't know what it's going to look like. And, all these different ideas of, am I going to get it? Did I have it?
Yeah. Yes. And that was the thing. It's like, oh, okay. Because I think about it, it's like, I could have been somewhere where several people, because I know several people died from one event, from the bishops and pastors, from a conference, the police from a breakfast. And not so much to say that I could have been there, but I could have been somewhere else where there were massive death. And, it's just kind of interesting, but I really am choosing to pivot. That's been my word, and find my purpose in this pandemic. And this has always been my zhush. It's like, oh, and then I see everybody doing the same thing. It's like, but wait a minute, I'm a journalist, let's get going and let's have conversations with people that can help us shape our mentality, shape how we're processing things so that we can create a positive new normal. It's not to say that you have to paint Picasso, write War and Peace, but I think it's necessary for a lot of us that are going to be the forerunners to begin to say, okay, this is what we have to do. So
I think pivot is such a powerful word.
Girl,
because it simply means to change direction, right? So it's basically telling people, okay, here is a moment, and this is my opinion. This is what I'm thinking about this moment.
Yes.
It is an opportunity for us to recalibrate.
Yes.
It is an opportunity for us to think outside of the box.
Yes.
It is an opportunity for us to think about things a little differently. And it's an opportunity for us to figure out what are our core gifts.
Yes.
What are we ignoring?
Yeah.
What are those things that are inside of us that we are naturally talented and gifted at that we could be actually capitalizing on and having a real business behind it.
Sure.
So it really is about changing it's a paradigm shift.
Yes.
And some people are not going to engage or catch hold or catch that fire, and that's okay.
Yes.
But for those that do, this is it's a Kairos time for those that do, to be able to just walk in their personal legend and just be who they were purposed and created to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That is great. Because that's what I was, when you said that, I thought of exercising that empathy and compassion for the ones that are kind of still processing even now.
Yeah.
They're thinking they're going to run back outside and embrace the normal. And they're going to be like that little meme baby where it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is not normal. This is not the old normal,
Right.
Right. So we're like here to say it's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's okay. Take your time, but some of us as you talked about the carry-offs, this is the time to seize the moment. And it's nothing personal if you don't. But we definitely have to move forward because we are the forerunners. Talk about, and speaking of forerunners, you did something. You didn't write War and Peace, but you did. You did.
I don't think I ever finished that, actually reading that book.
Me neither. And you know what? Guess what? There's too many other books that I need to read before I get to that. But you finished, because when did you start writing the book? Your 50 Things Mama Said.
It's interesting because I was in the process of writing another book.
Right.
That I'll probably come out with that book maybe later in the year.
Sure.
But in the midst of writing that book a year ago, my spirit, Holy Spirit, was just like, okay, stop. You need to focus on this. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
And so I had to pivot and start 50 Things Mama Said.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because my mother passed away in 2010, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And on her 75th birthday, my siblings and I, some of us came from other states. I'm in California. I have a brother in Illinois. And I had a sister in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. And some of us came from other states. And we, on my mother's 75th birthday, mm-hmm. we recited to her 75 things that she used to say to us when we were growing up.
Wow.
And she would be like, mm-hmm, that's right. Yeah. You know, co-signing and everything. And I actually took 50 of those things and wrote a book about it. And the book is not just about 50 things that my mother said or 50 things Mama said. The book is what I believe my mother's intentions were when she was saying them, and how my elevated thinking took me on this journey after really regurgitating those words years later. You got to understand something. First of all, I was not the most likely to succeed in my family. As a matter of fact, my mother had not one. She had not one but two life insurance policies on me. I was very rebellious. Okay. And as I came of age, I realized a lot of that was because my parents divorced, and it was just a very awkward time. I had a sister who died at 16. Yeah. Nobody talked about it after the fact. It was so many things going on in my life. Yes. And and so I just really my journey was just like completely I don't want to say that it was derailed, because I know better than that now. But I went down paths that were dangerous. Yeah. And I'm super grateful that I was able to learn so many lessons, because that's really what experience is supposed to teach you. Absolutely. If you allow it. If you allow it. And that is the most important thing that I tell a lot of my coaching clients. You know, I can give you tools. I can ask you all these courageous and powerful questions. However, if you don't do the soul work for yourself, yes, it's not going to matter. Yeah. It's not going to matter what I say. It's not going to matter. Yeah. It is choice, not by chance. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because you actually heard the Holy Spirit. You know, we can say that here. It's a safe space for the Holy Spirit to inhabit. That you were going to write something else, but it was like, okay. But you did not only write something else, you published it during a pandemic on Mother's Day. On Mother's Day. I was the first. On Mother's Day. You were the first person to write the book. I got the first copy. Yes. You know, signed.
But
Yes.
yeah, so, as soon as it was live, I was like, okay, I'm putting in my credit card and like, but you published a book during the
Yeah.
pandemic. And that's a pretty, so you set a lofty goal, because I remembered you having a conversation and we were going back and forth with the edits and trying to get it done by Mother's Day. So you had like the face like Flint, and was like, okay, it's okay though. But you went on to publish it on the date that you said, for it to go live. Talk about, because you lost your mother in 2010. I lost mine in 2012. And death for me, around me, can sometimes be triggering. Did you experience that, especially writing about things that your mother said? Did you feel any type of triggers from death, as it relates to what was going on around us? Because the clock is ticking and the numbers are going up. So we're at 100,000, and no one has said anything. I've seen the New York Times with all the names, but no one that is in leadership, not even 50 minus 5, has said anything to acknowledge the loss. So did you feel some trigger? You know what I mean? Because I remembered when Kobe died, and though I wasn't a basketball aficionado, I loved the game when I would watch it, but I cried. I was like, it was an ugly cry, because it was the empathy with loss. And just that whole thing. So did you feel triggered even while doing this? Because you're writing about things your mother said, and even when I was reading it, it's like, certain things. It's like, I remember, because our mothers came from the South. So it was just certain things they said. And it's like, so did you feel triggered at any point?
That's a very interesting question.
Of course.
Because I have a very, I won't call it conflicted, but I have a very deep understanding and relationship with loss. So I had a sister who died when she was 16. I was 12. My grandmother, who was in her 90s, she died in our house. Of course, my father passed away in 1995. My oldest son's father was killed a week after he was born. Okay. A couple years later, I was in a relationship with someone and they died while we were out of town together.
Wow.
My mother was a twin. My mother's twin died in 2009. My mother died in 2010. Their oldest sister died in 2012. My oldest sister died in 2013. Not to mention, I had a heart attack and almost died in 2001.
Yeah, I remember. That.
So when it comes to loss, I just have a different relationship with it. First of all, it took me a very long time to understand that we are life force. We're energy, right? Sure. And people could say whatever they want to say, spirit, right? I have a defibrillator in my chest. And if someone has a heart attack that does not have a defibrillator, when you get into the EMS or the hospital, they're going to put the paddles on your chest to try to bring you back.
Sure.
Right? Because your body is made out of energy. Okay. That part of your body, not the flesh, not the bones, not the organs, but the spiritual part of your body. I realized that energy doesn't die. It just transforms.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
once I was able to make peace with that, right before my mother passed away, I was in the hospital and I was talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
She had tubes down her throat and in her nose, everywhere. And I was talking to her and she had not really been responsive. And I had flown in from California, and I remember the doctors like rubbing this paddle on her foot to, see if she would respond. And I remember I started talking to her and I started telling her about how amazing of a mother she has been, and just all the wonderful things that she's done, and like how grateful I was. And I remember one night, it was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was in the room with her, but it was just us.
Sure.
And my mother started reaching for somebody while we were in the room, while she was there. And the hairs on my arms just stood up, and I put, you've heard this expression before, I put my Baptist finger up and I tipped over to the other side of the room, and I just started praying because I realized that I was witnessing something very powerful, very spiritual. And I knew that it wouldn't be long after that. And I was at peace. I was at peace when my mother transitioned.
Yeah.
The book was not triggering for me, but the book brought up a lot of emotion for me, because I can remember when my mother was actually saying some of those things, and I was like, girl, bye.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to hear this. I'm a teenager. Like,
right.
And it wasn't until years later where I had those aha moments, and I was like, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what that meant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it. And so it was a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of self-compassion. And a lot of times we have to be able to forgive ourselves.
Sure.
We have to be able to forgive ourselves, and we have to be able to have self-compassion for ourselves, for every iteration of ourselves that may not have produced the best work, or we may not have done things that we thought represented our best selves.
Sure.
But we change daily. So we have to have that self-compassion and forgiveness for ourselves. And so it was cathartic for me.
Yeah.
And some of the people who are reading it right now have expressed to me that it's cathartic for them, mm-hmm. and transformational for them. So that is more than I could ever hope for.
Yeah. What would you say to people who did not have, that was a privileged experience, that was a blessing that you were able to witness your mom passing over?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people during this pandemic have not had that opportunity, because the last they saw was they were checked into the hospital and then they got a call that their loved one had passed. So they didn't get an opportunity to experience the kind of closure that you had an opportunity to do. What would you say to those individuals that are probably kicking themselves, because that's what we do,
Yeah.
They weren't there. I wasn't there when I got the call. So
mm-hmm.
I went through my own guilt and feelings of first of all, grief, and just trying to figure it out. Thank God for faith, and that I understood what was happening or what had happened. So I didn't stay. I stayed there as long as I needed to in that place, because I would literally be somewhere and would have to duck. I'd be at the mall and start crying, But what do you say to someone who did not get that opportunity to have the last that last moment, which a lot of people don't, whether it's a pandemic, but especially now, we're talking about 100,000 lives have been ravaged, or 100,000 families have been ravaged as a result of loss, but they did not have an opportunity to say a final goodbye or to be right there with that person while they go through this ordeal that had to be scary. You know, they're on ventilators, they're around, you don't even know. So you might feel some guilt that you were absent during that process to either see them make it or not. What do you say to people that have experienced loss like that without the closure?
That's another excellent question. First, I want to say that I wasn't there the moment my mother took her last breath, but I will tell you about that story because it was very powerful.
Okay.
But I had closure maybe 5 months before my mother passed away.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why, because my mother told me she was tired. So, and I'm like, what do you mean? You're still young. You know, our grandmother lived in her 90s, and she said, I'm not her. So she was letting me know well in advance.
So she had made peace.
She made peace with it.
So she was encouraging you to make peace.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was a random conversation. And I was visiting from California. And so that was the first thing. But I want to get to your point, because seeing 100,000 names on the cover of the New York Times made coronavirus victims more than just a number on Johns Hopkins University website or Worldometer. It made it real. These are real people with real families. And even myself, I mean, there was a story of a woman in Michigan who lost her husband, and then like a few days later, she lost her son. I don't even know this lady, but I've been praying for her since I heard that story. There's no way that you can see 100,000 names and not feel something. So the first thing that I would say to those people is, you may have experienced the loss of one of your loved ones transitioning over, but again, you can speak to them right now, because energy does not die.
Wow.
You can speak to them right now, and you can say, I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you in that last moment that you took your breath, but know that I love you and I'm so grateful for everything that you did for me. And I'm so happy that you were my mom, my brother, my sister, my grandmother, my aunt. I'm just so blessed that you were in my life. And I promise that I am going to live the rest of my life to the best of my ability to honor your legacy. Once you get that out, and you put it in the universe, you would be surprised how amazing that you feel. I did get a call, ironically, before my mother passed away. She started getting better. So they took all of the tubes out of her. And my oldest sister, who is now transitioned as well, called me and said, somebody wants to talk to you. And I'm like, I can't imagine who wants to talk to me, but okay. And it was my mother. And she told me that she loved me in the best way that she could, because she was intubated. So it was very hard for her to speak clearly. And she told my sisters who were there, and they called my brother and told him. And she told my youngest sister that she was running late. And my sister's like, what are you talking about, Mom? You're in the hospital. And she said, I'm running late. And my sister said, for what? And she said, my funeral. And then when my sisters fell asleep, my mother went to the next plane of consciousness with God. She transitioned. And so I had already made peace. I mean, did I cry? Of course. Was I sad? Of course. If you have experienced losing a parent, especially the bond that people have with their mothers, it's not too much else in life that you can experience that will trump that or surpass that. If you can get through that, you can get through anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I remembered I was somewhere and it hit me. I said, no matter where I am in the world, I knew that I could come to her house and she would be in that chair, you know.
Yeah.
Chair. It's like, man, I could go anywhere. Now I can come back home and she's not there, you know. But what you said is very transformational for someone that might be stuck in the grieving process. And it's not to say that you have to rush, but in the grieving process, you do have to, would you agree, be compassionate towards yourself while you're grieving? Because there is that guilt, there's that anger, you know, there's the denial. Yeah. So
yeah, people go through the stages of grief, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they'll be shocked and angry and sad and denial, and then the last one is acceptance, right? So everybody is not going to meet the acceptance door at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's some people that are grieving the loss of their dad or their mother, and they passed away 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it just depends on how you choose to look at it.
Sure.
You can choose to celebrate them, celebrate their life, celebrate their legacy, celebrate their memory, or you can choose to be sad that they're not here. However, I know from experience and what I've seen from other people that if you choose to vibrate higher, right? If you choose to live or dwell in a space of joy, love, and peace, and you will feel so much better.
Sure.
You will feel so much better because you have to be very careful with sadness, because sadness can go into despair.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to come out of despair.
It's kind of like, oh my God, it's almost like quicksand to some degree.
Yeah.
And if you don't have hold of something, you can go under. And that's kind of how I felt even during this time. It's like, okay. And I knew that was anxiety, where it's like, it's too much. Because every time I would go on Facebook, you know, it was rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace. It's like, what? Rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace. And it's like, I gotta stop. Talk about some of her favorite sayings that are featured in the book that resonate for you. In all 50, but just a couple, you know, give us a preview of some of those sayings before that you included.
I'll give you a few.
Okay.
One of them, put up or shut up. And not to give too much away, but mean what you say and say what you mean.
Yeah.
And that is all connected to integrity, right?
Oh, yes.
Being able to actually say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
And then just you know, it's very interesting because especially with this age of social media, people say so many things over the internet, right? A lot of things that they may not necessarily mean, but they say it out of their emotions. Say it out of their emotions. They don't stop and take a break or take a breath and actually think about, get present and actually think about what they want to say before they say it. And I've said that to coaching clients. I've said that to my children. Like, think about what you're getting ready to say before you say it, because once you put those words out there, you cannot take it back.
It's that energy.
And then exactly. And even in business, you know, a lot of times people, they overpromise and they underdeliver.
Yes.
So don't be that person.
Yes.
I would rather underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, wow, I was only expecting this, but you did this, this, and that. Right.
So you find it a lot easier to maintain that integrity because you're not biting off more than you can chew. And
exactly.
you are still flowing in a place of authenticity and integrity.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Another favorite saying that my mother would say is, a closed mouth don't get fed.
Okay.
And it's so true. And I mean, you can even look at it from a biblical perspective, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have not because we ask not. And when we ask amiss, right? And you could think about how it's not only is it life and death in the power of the tongue, but we have power and authority to speak things.
Sure.
And to create things. And whatever we bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever we loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven, right?
Yeah.
And being able to have the power to ask, being able to see, faith is only one element of it, right?
Sure.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do you have to exercise your faith by asking, believing, and waiting on the manifestation of it to come to pass, there also has to be actions with it.
Sure.
So you're gonna fail 100 times if you don't try any of those 100 times.
Sure.
100 times if you don't take the opportunity to make something happen, then you cannot sit back and have a problem with those that do.
Yes.
Somebody posted something, somebody that I followed who's in the entertainment industry posted something the other day that I reposted because I thought it was interesting and I like to keep engaged in conversation going. But he said, in this season, there's going to develop 3 types of people: millionaires, billionaires, and witnesses. Okay. And so I said, and witnesses, don't be upset with me. I won't be upset with you.
Yeah, apologizing in advance, baby.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if you're not out there actually putting legs to your faith, if you're not actually out there confessing,
yeah.
I mean, and I'm a huge believer of vision boarding every year. I'm a huge believer of prayer and meditation. I'm a huge believer of positive confession.
Because you said you had already checked off three things on your vision board for this year.
Yes, and last year was about 8 or 9.
Yeah,
and I was showing my nieces, and they were like, "Can we do a vision board?"
Yeah,
because a lot of people, when they do vision boards, they just think, "Oh, it's just really just throwing pictures on a poster board and that's it." No, it's deeper than that.
Yeah,
it's deeper than that. It's not only doing that, but it is confessing. It's writing your vision down. It's visualizing it, and it's meditating on it, right? Because that what you think about is who you become.
Yeah.
So it's more than just putting things on a piece of paper. It's about the power of intention. It's about visualization, and it's about faith, right?
That's good. Say that again.
It's about the power. It's about the power of intention. It's about visualization, and it's about faith.
Faith.
So you can't just put something down and just, because people make vision boards and they walk past it all the time.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping that works out. No, but if you're there and you just start saying, I am so grateful that this is going to happen for me, whatever that thing is. I am so grateful that I am this. I am so grateful that I am a CEO and that my business has a net profit of $2.7 million. Be specific.
It's kind of like you're rewiring your receptors and your antennas go up for opportunities because you are now in tuned or attuned to, it's sort of like you hear something, it's like, I need that, because you have now rewired yourself to think, first of all, and manifest. And it sounds hard, and it's not, but it's not easy either. it's the discipline, I think. Would you agree that
Well, here's the thing. An heir to a wealthy person does not think that they're going to be broke. They have the expectation that they're going to have wealth and maintain wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And their focus is not on how am I going to remain wealthy. That's not their focus.
Yeah.
Right. However, if you didn't come from wealth, it's probably not in your daily mantra of thinking like wealth. It's not something that you would think on. And a lot of times it has a lot to do with your worth system. A lot of times people don't even feel worthy to have.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't think that they deserve.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
That inferiority complex is huge. Very huge.
And a low sense of worth.
Yeah.
And I had an aha moment for me because like we're all, if you choose to, we're growing and evolving. Yeah. I don't understand how a human being can wake up every day and not grow and evolve, but some people are perpetually stuck. However, I remember for myself a couple of years ago having an aha moment about self-worth and what I felt like I could have, right? Mm-hmm. And I had the most amazing epiphany was that, wait a minute, I was born worthy.
Yeah.
Nobody knighted me worthy. Nobody can tell me I'm worthy and nobody can tell me that I'm not. I was born worthy.
It's definitely a conversation. You have to have that conversation where if you are desiring that, it's like it starts with like, wait a minute, I am worthy. I was born worthy, Yeah. And it seems, I don't know why it's not so much perpetuated in the church, but we won't go there. But yeah, it definitely requires that conversation where you start to rewire that, so.
Well, let's not go there, but let's dip our big toe in the water.
Okay.
Some churches it is perpetuated, but it's connected to something.
There it is.
It's connected to something.
Assessment. That's a more accurate assessment. Yeah.
So you're worthy if you do this, or you can have this if you do this, right? Not that you were just inherently born worthy.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And so it's not even about teaching wealth or telling people that, you should want to have this kind of life or that kind of life. I'm saying that when you make a decision to be your best self,
yes,
money, success, all of that will chase you down. If that's what you are, if that's where you live, if you live in excellence, if everything that you do, you want it to be efficacious, just certain things are attracted to you. Mm-hmm. People want to invest in you. People want to be connected to you. People want to know and understand you. So it's all about rewiring that domestication.
Sure.
Because like animals, we were all domesticated.
Yeah.
We were taught from little children what to think, what to eat, what to believe, what to wear. And that's why when we become teenagers, it's such an unrest, it's so much rebellion, because we're like, wait a minute, I don't like peanut butter. I love meat. Whatever that situation is, and your parents are telling you, no, you don't like that. You've never eaten. Well, I think I do like that.
Yeah. And you gotta
I think I do like this, right?
Grow into their bend. And I get it. Parents are trying to do what they think is best, but at some point you have to allow that individuality to blossom, and
here's the thing. I don't want parents to be upset or think that I'm a parent, I have 2 adult sons. I don't want parents to think that that you're doing something wrong.
Right.
you can only give what you have.
Mm-hmm.
My parents could only give me what they had.
Correct.
So if my father had a fourth grade education and was the son of a sharecropper, my father could only give me what he had.
Sure.
My mother could only give me what she had. So a lot of times we have to have a lot of compassion and empathy for our parents,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to forgive them.
Yes, absolutely.
For things that we've been bitter about, or, holding grudges. And they only gave us what they had, whether that is financial, education, and training on, whether it's saving or whether it's your diet and how you eat, whatever that looks like. They only showed you what they knew how to do, right? Sure. And so a lot of times we have to learn how to reparent ourselves and say, I'm going to have to do this for me. Mm-hmm. And I forgive every iteration of myself where I wasn't kind to my body, when I wasn't financially responsible. Yeah. But from this moment forward, I'm going to be that. I cannot be upset with my parents for not teaching me the stock markets if it wasn't taught to them.
Right. Yeah.
And if it's something that I want to learn, then I educate myself.
And that requires definitely responsibility and accountability, that we have to be willing to do that necessary soul work that you talk about. Yeah. So you're a certified life coach, but you're referred to a lot of times by your clients as a transformational coach, and also expound on adaptability expertise.
Transformational coach and adaptability expert. Okay, so yes, I am a certified coach, which means that I go by the guidelines of the Coaching Federation, and I'm not a therapist. First, let me explain what the difference is.
Yeah.
First of all, a coach asks powerful questions. They ask powerful questions to help you to make the decisions for yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what coaches do. And coaches are accountability partners.
Okay.
To help you to get certain things done, whether it's goals, whether it's changing your mindset, whether it's acceptance, whether it's doing something differently. Therapists help you to process certain issues, to actually go into those issues and process it. Yeah. A lot of times I work alongside therapists.
Okay.
So they may have certain tools that they've gotten from their therapist, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I work with them just to make sure that whatever their particular issue is, I mean, it could be something small, like somebody could have like angst about moving. So of course my question will be, why? Why do you have this feeling?
Yeah.
What is tied to that? When was the first time you felt that? What comes up for you when you put something into a box, right? I ask powerful questions and then they're like, oh, that's why I felt that way. Well, I don't think that's really reasonable or whatever.
Sure.
And it's like,
so but move into the goal reaching phase.
Exactly. And not just goals, but smart goals. Sure. Goals that, are short, they're measurable, they're obtainable, and they're timely, right? So these are goals that are realistic, right? Because sometimes people are like, I want to be a millionaire by September. It's like,
that's not realistic, which is part of smart. It's like, no.
Let's just take a step back. Let's talk about how you plan on doing this.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. Because I tell people all the time, they have these things that they feel like unsurmountable. And, and a lot of times, some of the things, they're grand, but they are doable, just
Sure.
not in the time frame that you think you want to do them. And then I'll ask them the question, how do you eat an elephant?
One chunk at
One
a time.
bite at a time.
Was that Stephen Covey? Was that from Stephen Covey? Remember back in, when we were doing corporate trainings and
Yes, one bite at a time.
And whatever. It was just all those little corporate workshops we would have that to motivate us. And Stephen Covey was
yes.
And
for the vegans, that was a euphemism. I'm not eating elephants. I'm not promoting the eating of elephants.
No.
No, I'm not.
I'm a carnivore, so yeah.
And so, adaptability expert.
Yeah.
A lot of people know me because I have had so many lives. I started out. I always was in entertainment even when I was a young girl. Yeah. I am from Detroit.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Detroit. Shout out to Eric Williams, Detroit mate. I always have been in entertainment. I modeled when I was younger. I did modern dance. I acted. As a matter of fact, when I was 15 years old, I was in a program called Festival of the Arts. Okay. And it was run by Kim Weston, which was an old Motown singer. Mm-hmm. And she had a duet with Marvin Gaye. I think it might have been It Takes Two. I'm not sure. But so the program was run by a lot of Motown people. Okay. So celebrities would come through there all of the time. When I say all of the time, I remember Stevie Wonder coming and performing live Apartheid Is Wrong.
Wow.
And all of us were just like singing a cappella. At the time, I had no idea of the weight of really who Stevie Wonder was.
Yeah.
Another incredible moment that I had was, and I had no idea who this man was at the time. I met Ossie Davis when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And he audited the acting class, and we were able to take pictures with him, and they made copies so he can autograph them. And he wrote on the bottom of my paper, "You're a natural, carry on and prosper." Now that's so Ossie Davis-ish.
Yes.
So I didn't know until I was full and grown. It probably was one of Spike Lee's movies, as a matter of fact. I was talking about being an adaptability expert, and somebody actually gave me that moniker. However, it was relating to having all these different experiences, and not just surviving them, but thriving through them.
Yeah.
And so anybody can be an adaptability expert. But it's more about not just the survival, but the thriving. Mm-hmm. You come out of a divorce and you come out on top. You come out of a heart attack and you wind up being a national spokesperson for the American Heart Association. Like you drop out of high school and you wind up having, several degrees, right? So and I like to look at it like the slingshot effect. Yeah. Sometimes you get pulled back only to be propelled into the stratosphere.
Baby.
So
it's
okay to have some setbacks.
It really
but you just have to get refocused.
Honestly. And if you can realize that and if you can know that, and maybe not at the time, but if you've had enough, I'm coming back. Like, even, which is very appropriate, we're going to come out of this.
Yes.
So much differently and blessed.
Yes.
If they could live through it as a result of the Spanish flu, Chris was just sending me, I think her name was Rector, Sam Rector. She was a millionaire during the atrocities. And I didn't go into full detail because I knew I had to prep, but I said, I'm definitely going to listen to the podcast. Like you talked about the millionaires, the billionaires, and the witness. Right. And that needs to, and you will know what resonates for you. And if this witness okay. Just hang on. We got you down the road. But I felt like we got that we had that little Teddy Riley moment. That was cool. It's like, well, thank you. But it was like, I'm glad you came back, because we always go through that. But I do want to talk about one of our favorite subjects and our school of thought as it relates to love and dating. Because I know for me, my I don't have a boo during quarantine. Well, I do, a virtual boo.
Shout out to D Nice.
That doesn't know he's my virtual boo, and I'm not I'm not just when it's CQAD, along with 100,000, 150,000 people. So no, I'm not stalking him. But I decided this was a time where I realized not so much that I'm lonely, but what this has done is it sharpens your perception of what you want. You see, it's like, I never liked that color paint on my wall. I hate this couch. It's like, I need some flowers in the flower bed, right? So,
can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we it's like, gosh, I really need to definitely think about what I want, but it's like, gosh, what am I doing? So whoa.
There's like a garbage truck like outside. I could not have planned this. I could not have planned this. I have my window open. There's a garbage truck like just randomly picking up garbage. So sorry for the sound effects. Just real life. This is live.
Wait a minute. Maybe that's what you got to do. Take out the trash. Take the trash out before you start dating. Get all the trash out.
I'm telling. Look, maybe I should close the window. Let me try it. It's super loud.
Okay. She's just going to close the window, guys. We've got, this is just me and my girl kicking it on this edition of Life and Style with Francyne. So, we do this all the time. We laugh and we're,
It didn't help that much, but
because we're not going to be on too much longer. I definitely want to have a little blurb on our school of thought as it relates to, or your school of thought. And I probably like, amen. This
is one of my favorite topics, actually.
Oh, I know, because love.
To talk about relationships and love, and I mean, I've been through that whole. Yeah, I could probably write a book on dating and online dating and all of that.
Sure.
I think one of the most important things that people should understand before they start dating is to, number one, date yourself.
Whoa, date yourself.
Date yourself. Date
3
yourself.
words. No, I know, 2 words.
Really? And what I mean by that is, before you start looking for love outside of yourself, make sure you truly love yourself.
Yeah.
Because you have to ask that question, and it's a very powerful question. Would you want to be around you?
Mm-hmm.
And when you love yourself, you take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You give yourself the things that you love, want, and need, because I think a lot of relationships go awry when people are looking externally for someone to complete them, to make them happy, to make them feel a certain kind of way, when we have to be able to give those things to ourselves. Right. So you don't get into a relationship with someone, or I like to say, you don't experience a relationship with someone
Sure.
looking for them to make you happy. You give that happiness to yourself. You cultivate that joy for yourself. And whoever gets to be an experience with you, they can add to your happiness and vice versa.
I like that, because I feel like I agree with that, because I feel like once you date yourself, you start to put things in your garden that, flowers, you get to put the flowers in you like. And then when someone else comes along, it's like, this is my little flower bed, and I think when you have someone that is your equal, you hold space differently versus someone that is toxic. It requires you to show up differently, because he wants to have a fulfilled love relationship as well. It's not just, it just shouldn't be two-way. Now, what do you think about as far as dating? What would be your approach? Do you meet someone and just deem that person the one, or do
Sorry, did I laugh out loud?
Or do you, because I find that happens a lot, not me, but it happens a lot when people meet one person, they automatically put all their energy into that one person. And then 3 to 6 months later, they're so disappointed that happened.
I've done that before. I've done that before, and it's not the best practice to do. And I would say definitely meet a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Women, it's looked at differently than it is looked at with men, and it's just true. If a woman says that she's dating multiple people or she's meeting up with multiple people, there's automatically this double standard that happens. However, I think that
I really do believe that is intentional, because if you have 3 or 4 people, and let's be clear, you are not sleeping with 3 or 4 people, you are not sleeping with anybody,
of course not,
then that means I'm not so caught up on the one that is not really showing me interest, and it could have been evident in your dinner, or date, or whatever, your coffee date, or whatever you want, whatever you did when you met this person. Yeah. It's like, it's not really, you're not getting a real good vibe, or I won't say a good vibe. You're not getting that chemistry or whatever, but you keep them in the roster.
Here's the thing. I've heard you say this a lot, and I believe the same thing. It's a numbers game. And then a guest that you had earlier this week, I believe his name is Kevin.
Yes.
He talked about how people self-select themselves out.
Yes.
It's the same way with dating.
Yep.
Because when you have standards, and when you're busy living your life, being your best self, and you're being a boss, and you're doing all the things that you want to do, and that person that meets you wants to love bomb you and tell you that they want you to spend all the waking hours that you're not working to be with them. Red flag. They self-select themselves out.
Yes.
But when you meet people or a person that's understanding to what you want to do, and they're supportive, and they realize that you have your own life and they have their own life, and then when you guys come together, then you can create new experiences with each other. Sure. And the thing about it is, it has to flow. You have to be able to be yourself.
Yes.
If anybody is telling you anything that's contrary to how you feel about yourself, that too is a red flag.
Yeah.
If a guy says something like, I don't like wigs, or I don't like weaves, or I don't like makeup, or whatever, And if that's something, if you, baby, if you want to have a room and that is your prerogative.
Yeah.
And trust me, somebody is going to like it. Okay. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to be yourself, your authentic, true self, not the false self that people can be around certain people, because, and I think a lot of times people get into that false self trap is because people that they may be wanting to be with don't accept them for who they are. So they tend to do more things that is acceptable to that person. But doing that is you're betraying yourself. You're self-betraying yourself. You're being a disservice to yourself because you're not being your authentic true self. And then you're going to be bitter. You're going to be resentful. And then 6 months down the line, you're going to be like, look, I need to put my wig on and my lashes. And if you can't handle it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, I go into it. And I think that's another thing, it's not whatever. I'm such an advocate for agency. So whatever makes you happy, do that. Whatever makes you feel amazing and beautiful, do that.
Yes.
I just happen to love the way, like, part of this, I always, we're talking about what we're going to do and what our purpose is. Well, first of all, I always knew, different people, raw talent, whatever. I always knew I was going to do something, especially once I left corporate America. And I knew, because I majored in journalism. And then 20 years later, it was my zhush, my major. But it's like, what do you want to do? It's like, I just want to talk to amazing people and wear pretty dresses. You know what I mean? And just cultivate and facilitate stories that people want to tell. And that's what I do. That's what I want to do. So this is who I am. It's like, and if you are looking for someone else that doesn't fit my bill, by all means, go with God. You know what I mean?
Best of luck to you on your journey.
you know how I do. It's like, well, I wish you well on your journey, because I've never met anybody that liked me that had a problem with who I am and my mode of expression. Somebody else might be okay with the ponytail, not, you know what I mean, but a bun back. And it's like, that's never been me, not even as a little girl, so
May I say that when people do that, they're actually projecting the insecurities they have about themselves.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
When somebody is uncomfortable with you expressing yourself and being you, they're really projecting the insecurities that they have about themselves.
Yes.
And that is something to look at. And that is a red flag, right? Because I can't manage you, honey. I got to manage me.
Yeah.
And if you still need to work on this, I know that I need to excuse myself from this experience.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to spill out that bitterness. You're going to spill out that pain. You're going to gaslight.
Yeah.
You're going to be very toxic.
Yeah.
And if and I'm just using myself, it could be anybody. If I am not in a place of power, then I am going to internalize a lot of the things that you are saying. And even though they may not be true. And so then you're in a situation where your self-esteem is being affected.
Yeah.
Because somebody else is not where they need to be. Mm-hmm. So they attempt to knock you down because they see something powerful in you that's not in them.
Yeah. And recognizing something powerful in yourself is so important. And I think this goes across the board. And we've had this conversation. It's not just male, female, 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 male, male, relationships. it's, or, romantic relationships. And I meant what I said, female, male, 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 female, 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 male. It's not just the romantic relationships that you need to look out for those red flags. It's relationships in general. Would you agree?
Woo! Woo!
Yeah,
Namaste.
My cat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just male.
Yeah.
It definitely can be female to female relationships.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. I didn't create it, but I say it all the time. Your tribe is your vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The people that are attracted to you, there's going to be things that you guys have in common.
Sure.
You're going to have the same mindsets, the same heart sets, the same goal sets, the same health sets, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure that you're not connecting yourself to someone who secretly is not for you.
Yeah.
To someone who has so many insecurities within themselves, they cannot celebrate you, and they will not celebrate you.
Yeah.
And you will, baby, you will celebrate them all day long. Yeah. But when it comes to them celebrating you, they don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
And capacity is a very interesting word because you cannot give out what you don't have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If your cup is half full and it's not running over, you can't give to someone else in a half full cup. Your cup has to be running over. As Mother Auntie Ayala says, what is in the cup is for me, and everything that spills into the saucer is for everybody else.
For everybody
so
else.
Your cup has to be running over.
That's some good.
Not just full.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't have that. And let's be honest here. People don't want to do the work. The work is hard.
And it's ugly. It's like, woo. I mean, I remembered we had some conversations and but it was a friend to friend. And rather than divert and not accept or acknowledge how you felt, it was like, ooh, I am sorry. That was something I needed to work on because I love you. See what I'm saying? So it's like, and some people can claim they love a person and not be willing to change to make that person feel loved in action. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with me. Or what they will do is itemize what you did wrong. It's like, sir, ma'am, baby.
At the end of the day,
that's
the reason why your response can be like that is because you know my track record.
Yeah.
You know my history.
Yes.
And you know that whatever I come to you with, I'm coming in the energy of love.
Absolutely.
And that changes everything. If somebody has a track record where they're petty, where they're messy, where you know that they're coming with some foolishness, your energy is going to be a little different. You may be a little guarded. You may be like,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
If you know somebody has a history of not only saying they love you, because love is a verb.
Yeah.
Love is an action word. Love does.
Yeah.
Love moves. Love breathes. You cannot continuously tell somebody you love them and you do not show them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're like, that's a little tricky.
Yeah.
Your actions are not lining up with your words here.
And I started out us talking, but this is probably, saying love and dating, but I think it's important across the board.
Love and relationships.
Yeah. To demand that treatment across the board. So you're consistent. You're showing up. Something else that Kevin said, he says, I might talk to my wife a little differently than my sister or my daughter or my sons, but I'm still consistent in the love. And so that's really what it really requires, that we continue to work on ourselves so that it's consistent across the board. You know, I ask myself during this time, how can I be more loving? How can I be more attentive? Because I know, you know, I'm a little bossy, you know, being the middle sister, but being the older sister as we are, you know, as we were raised, I'm a little bossy, and I catch myself, and I have to understand that maybe my sister is not receptive to this or that because of my delivery, you know, because I'm bossy, or it's like, well, let's just do it this way, you know, because you're trying to protect them. So I'm taking on that motherly role. But if she's not receptive, then I need to change my delivery. You know, if it's making her feel not so good, then it is my love duty to change, you know?
And I would say two things. The first thing is that you're not responsible about how someone feels, but you are responsible for what you say.
Yeah.
So not what they hear, but what you say.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, or I would submit to you, when you're asking those very powerful questions, I would ask them to myself. How can I be more loving to myself?
Yeah.
How can I be more kind to myself? Because it's first within, then without.
So we're changing the ingredients in our Iyanla cup, our mug. We've taken out that saccharin sweetener and putting in some stevia, you know, and maybe doing a French pressed coffee versus Folgers. That's what I'm seeing, you know, where it's like, yeah, because it's like I'm loving myself with this French pressed coffee, right? So taking out, so loving yourself really is a service to you first, and and a blessing to everybody, because that's what you want. You want everyone to experience you in this space where it's like, I want to be around her.
Let's break it down into a minuscule salt. Do you like to travel? You like to get on planes?
Yeah, I do. Because there's a payoff to my travel, even if I don't like to be on planes long. Yes.
Okay, so let's not even talk about being off of the plane. Let's talk about when the flight attendants are giving instructions.
Mm-hmm.
What do they tell you about the oxygen mask?
Put it on yourself first.
Love yourself.
Put it on your baby. They said put it on yourself first. They don't even say, well, what about, oh, you know, here's the disclaimer. Don't forget, you know. So yeah, that's good. So really, the beginning of fulfilling relationships, whether it's romantic, brotherly, sisterly, you know, whatever, begins with yourself.
It begins with you.
Yeah. So whatever your mode, whether you decide, you know, how you are going to approach your dating life.
But I want to say something about it beginning first with you, because, well, how do you cultivate that love? Okay, well, what is your spiritual practice?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in a higher power than yourself?
Yeah.
Do you believe that you are love? Yeah. Therefore, the love that you express is coming from inside of you?
Sure.
Do you believe that? You know, what is it, the things that you do to help you to stay centered, and to help you stay balanced, and to help you not to take anything personally?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a spiritual practice that you have to have before, because dating, you're allowing different energy to be in your space.
Yeah.
And energy is everything. Energy is life. It's force, right? So once you understand who you are, And once you understand your values and your boundaries, then you can have an experience with others. You can have the most rewarding and the most powerful sister friendships and relationships. You can have the most amazing, loving, intimate, and romantic relationships. Once you understand who you are, your value, your boundaries, where you begin and where they end, and what is acceptable for you and what is not, and most importantly, not to settle.
Baby.
And what I mean by that, not settling, is you know how you want to be loved.
Yeah.
And if you're not experiencing that love in the manner that you want to experience that love, then you have to examine it. You can ask that friend or that partner very courageous questions.
Yes. Yes.
To get down to the bottom of what your issues may be.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you may find out that people don't even realize what they're not doing or what they are doing.
Yeah.
And not to ask anybody to change who they are, but just to look at things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because as we know, people who really love people and really want to contribute to other people's happiness, I don't want to say they make concessions, but they understand that there's mutually beneficial sacrifices. And some people don't like that word, sacrifice.
Yeah.
But it's true.
But the payoff with I think it, it's all about perspective and changing your perspective. I'm making a sacrifice because it's sort of like saving. I'm putting in a deposit, I'm depositing money that I can withdraw at any point in time, but I'm making those deposits. So it can be a sacrifice. Yeah, because maybe you can't get that French press coffee, with extra whip or whatever. But I know I'm making that sacrifice because I love the experience, or I want to experience more traveling. I want to experience more of this well-watered experience with this person because we started out that way. You know what I mean? It's not something that we started to get into midway. No, I let you in because you showed me, okay, you can have access to me. You know what I mean? Because it's a privilege. You're welcome to my magic. Come on in, because everybody is not welcome. Even though you may attract a whole lot of moths, to the fire. Everybody can't handle the heat. And you got to understand and recognize that, right? That no, they don't want this heat. They don't really want to work for this heat. And because we're both working together, and it's not to say that you can be in a relationship midway or whatever, but I think it takes a lot to, maybe they got a little lax on honoring your boundaries, but I think they got lax if you didn't put it in check, because they can only get lax if you don't say something. So
right.
Communication is important, but it's interesting. But it's like looking at priorities as it relates to love post-pandemic, because I'm not really kind of interested in anything. You're like, no.
You're not interested in that Zoom love, girl.
Girl, I think the initial couple of months, it was just really about processing something that we had not ever experienced. I had no capacity, that word, I had no mental capacity for love, or anything remotely close. And I understand. I know it's a compromised couple, single, selfish. I really wanted to be selfish. And I'm mature enough to recognize that, that
you said so many powerful things.
Yeah.
So many powerful things. A lot of people don't have capacity. We're going through a pandemic.
Yeah.
So how do you give energy to someone else when you're just trying to navigate through this new normal?
Yeah.
How do you give the type of energy and create these experiences when you're just trying to remember to put your mask on to go to the grocery store?
Girl, I know. It's like anticipate acting as if, it's like, do you realize, first of all, the mental thing that I have to it's like I don't like the mask. I don't care how bad it gets. I'm not going to wear a mask that matches my dress because I'm already. It's like I see those, curvaceous models with the mask that matches the fabric. It's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. No. But you're right. It's like, something that I'm not interested in. Like, I'm embracing that out of respect for myself and respect of everybody else, because God forbid, I would want to catch anything because I'm being careless. But you're right. It's like, no, I don't, and I still don't. I still feel like right now, I'm really kind of reigniting my own purpose, getting this off the ground, launching, working through my own fears. And the last thing I need is someone that I gotta probably, meet and work through that energy. It's like, are they available? Are they emotionally available? No, maybe down the road.
This could be a whole show. Relationships could be a whole show. So
and I think we really should.
I could say a lot more, but I'm gonna respect.
And I think what we should do is probably come back with a whole another segment just on love and relationships, because we are at at the end, and I don't want to prolong you because you are California time, and but I do appreciate you. And I already told you, I said, girl, we're gonna go over a little bit because congratulations. We will post the information because the book is out as far as so you can go ahead and pre-order. Make sure we get the link added.
You can pre-order paperbacks on my website, www.evedionne.com.
Okay.
And you can order the book right now on Amazon for e-readers. As a matter of fact, if you get the Kindle Unlimited, you can read the book for free. Just remember to leave a review.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to get the Kindle Unlimited, and you have like Apple products or whatever, you can buy the book. It's a little discounted right now. You can still buy it on Amazon. I think $15, $16.
Yeah.
And whoever purchases the book, Amazon, they give you like a free access to their reader or whatever. So it doesn't matter if you have an Apple product or Android. It doesn't matter. You can still read it. And I just hope that how my mother's words transformed my life, they're transformational for everyone who reads it.
Yes, I can't wait. To get my copy, and before I close, I just wanted to acknowledge, I don't know who is still here, but I wanted to acknowledge some of the viewers that made some comments, left some good positive energy. Char Goolsby, she was tickled by my Governor Fine comment. Then Lynette, awesome. Date yourself, love yourself. Alina, hey Alina. Then you don't like me. We were probably talking about when, how you wear your hair and whatnot. Hi, Rupert. Thank you. Yes, be careful who you invite into your space. We appreciate that. Relationship is work, but it's so worthy. If the relationship is good, man, I'm gonna
Let
go.
me tell you, if you work on yourself first, a relationship won't be as hard work.
Yeah, yeah,
The work won't be as arduous
yeah,
if you work on yourself first. Because
yeah.
a lot of times we have unrealistic expectations going into relationships.
That we
So
probably should put that work in on ourselves, and it wouldn't be, we
yeah,
shouldn't expect so much. But you know what?
yeah,
That's a good point to segue off and pick up on, because we definitely could have a conversation, because I don't think it's talked about from a female perspective that is not skewed by this patriarchy and all this other stuff that's just trying to get over on people. Because I'm so over the male armchair relationship experts. I
yeah.
can't take it. We need balance, and we need to override all that.
I agree. There needs to be balance.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so I appreciate you. This was amazing, as it always is, talking to you offline, I can't wait till I can get to California again, doing our thing. So many pictures you shared. It brought back memories, and it really made me smile. I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's the beauty of friendships, and capturing that and being able to look back at those things during a time when it can be tiring, can be trying, and
Yeah.
so a little sad at times. So I appreciate you. I'm so proud of you. I love you. Congratulations. I am here for you. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm inspired to pivot, exercise my own prophecy of pivot and what God is showing me. But thank you for allowing me a front seat to watch you soar. And thank you for being a guest on Life and Style with Francyne and believing in my vision. To talk to everybody from the Obamas to who knows.
Speak it.
Speaking it.
It's already, a closed mouth don't get fed.
You and 3 people that probably are watching right now, and whoever will watch the post, But
thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yes. What did you say, Mama? I made it.
Mama, I made it.
Yes, I was so cute. I love that. It's like, yes, Mama, we have made it, and we appreciate the energy that they are surrounding us with, even
yes. Yes.
when you get to that place where it's like, okay, I feel you. I feel you in the atmosphere. So, all right, my love, I will talk to you soon, and have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye, girl.
Love you. Mm-hmm. Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Life and Style with Francyne. Be sure to connect with me on YouTube. You can follow me there, like and subscribe my channel. Just go to YouTube and do hashtag Francyne Walker, FRANCYNE Walker. This will be available right now on Facebook for a time, but it will be uploaded to YouTube as well. So go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me today. We ran a little long, which I knew we would because, we're girlfriends, but it was just awesome. This experience was great. So I appreciate you all, your support, and tuning in, and stay tuned for the next guest. Never know who's going to be on Life and Style with Francyne. Until next time, talk to you soon. Mwah.